Alright, what's up, y'all? What's going on? What's going down? Make sure I look okay. My hair a little messed up, but it is what it is, man. We back on our way to the mother tizop. You know what I'm saying? So I wanted to jump on here and do some more questions. I want to do 50 questions for artists and basically just the questions I can answer. I mean, I'm not a super viral artist. I'm hoping that this is going to help me to get viral as I work on my TikTok, man. And I'm sure this question is going to come up, but I know it's consistency. And I just actually met a person that works at TikTok that's helping with the lives and things like that. So right now I should probably be live and doing these questions live, which, you know what, actually, matter of fact, I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to set that up so I can do this live. So I know I'm live here, and I'm gonna go live on TikTok as well and do this, and start doing my lives, as much as possible, because I have to build this following. And even though we're gonna start a new channel, I have to do these lives as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and set up my phone here live and do it all live.
Anybody else see this? Yeah.
No, we don't see it. Okay, so, and I have the TikTok live right here. Oh, my hair's kind of a mess, but we're gonna get it done anyway. I might just go ahead and pull it down. Oof, man, I've had some. I really need to get my hair done, but there's been a lot of stress and a lot of my hair getting messed up over the last freaking year, man. So I'm letting it grow out and doing remedies and all of that stuff. So but I'm gonna pop up my TikTok live right now, live on YouTube, and we're just gonna run through some questions, man, and just build this thing. So okay, so we're gonna go live on TikTok as well right now. All right, what's going on, y'all? What's going on? Okay, so right now we're live on YouTube. What's up? We're live on TikTok. What's going on, TikTok? How you guys doing? So my name is Mike Swagger, for y'all that don't know me. It's kind of crazy, man. Like, doing this whole thing is like, I just met a girl from TikTok yesterday, and she was telling me, she was like, dude, you gotta go live. You gotta go live, and I was like, well, I'm like, man, like, I lost the Instagram and all this stuff and yada, yada, yada. I'm sick of crying about it. What's gone is gone. What's done is done. The reason why I'm doing this is to find new people that, are into what I do. And then so I can give you guys new music, man. Like, it gets, after losing, your social media and stuff like that, I'm not going to lie, man, it gets very, very discouraging, because you're like, man, like, and it showed me anyway that I didn't really sustain the following that I thought I did. You know what I mean? And that's a little disappointing. However, the reason why I'm going over to TikTok is because I said, you know what, TikTok has always been favorable to me, and I don't think I've necessarily put it into work. So when I met that girl from TikTok yesterday, she's like, dude, you gotta go live, you gotta do this, and blah, blah, blah. And so I actually end up getting her phone number, and we're going to be talking about what I can do for my music. Not only that, the Mike TV show and everything like that. One step at a time. Basically my goal is not only to have this stuff on YouTube, but to also have it on TikTok as well. And that way, you guys can get to know me a little bit more, and you guys can, just dive into my world. You know what I mean? Like, I want to bring you guys into my world as I start moving around again. So some of the questions I'll be answering today. Some of them I know from being an independent artist and running around with a lot of like industry people and everything like that. I'm still, around a lot of these industry people that are doing big things right now. And so I'm going to answer all the questions that I can, how I got to where I got to. And so, where I've gotten to, I should say, in my career. And I've done all this. Everything I've done in my career, honestly, was with a minimal amount of money, working like a 9 to 5, and just charisma and hustle, and and thinking outside of the box, and and really in studying the game, man. Like, a lot of people don't think about that. They don't think about what it takes to really study to be inside the music industry. And I know, like, now people don't look at it as much. They don't say, oh, well, I need to study to be in the music industry. All I need to do is be on TikTok. But even then, you have to study that. And I feel like maybe that's somewhere where I need to like dive deeper, and then I can give you guys a little bit more information. So just jumping in, it's 50 questions, for independent artists, that might just be starting. I don't see a lot of young new artists starting, and that kind of sucks, because that's, we need, young new artists to drive the music, but, us as the, more seasoned artists have to give them something to want to gravitate towards, right? So how to stay consistent as an independent artist, or as an artist in general? How do you stay consistent? Man, this right here, staying on social media now, making sure you're doing the lives, as the person from TikTok told me, man, making sure you're jumping on those lives, making sure that, you're staying in everybody's face, and not just online. I know online's a huge thing right now, but, one of the ways that I stayed consistent, and I haven't really lately, because I've been, on my own thing. But one of the ways to stay consistent is just showing your face. Just being there, and being ready for the opportunity. As an artist, you don't have to really wait for an invite. I never really waited for invites. I would see a flyer on Instagram or whatever, and I know people, or I've met people that, are going to be performing or going to be there, and I just show up. You know what I mean? Like, you don't always have to wait for somebody to say, oh, well, hey, come be over here, and hey, here's a free entry for you. Buy the ticket, show up to the show, shake hands. Hey, man, watch the performance. Hey, great performance, And I mean, that's another way to stay consistent, because people see your face, they see you in a circle, then you're all of a sudden you're associated with that circle, right? They're like, oh, okay, like, yeah, every time I'm here, I see you over here, and so you must got some motion, right? Especially if you're there filming it all the time, like, take out your camera, take out your camera phone. Like, don't just worry about like, oh, well, somebody got to be filming me. One of the ways that I started showing that I was everywhere instead of waiting for people to put me on camera is I got my own camera. I was doing that with a group called Him at News, and so I ended up doing Mike TV. And start filming other people and showing their stuff and everything like that. And not only did that show how consistent I was and that I was always in the situation, it also showed that it also showed people that they wanted me around, because they're like, wow, well, he's gonna get some footage for me, he's gonna make me look good, we want him around. And then you start getting some invites. So very important. If you're trying to stay consistent, just show up. Don't wait for somebody to invite you. The invites aren't always going to come. You're not always going to get the the VIP treatment, and you're not always going to get the invites. You just have to be there. As far as social media, what I'm doing right now, I've never been the type to well, I don't want to say never been the type. I was the type to always be on social media. Again, when I lost my socials, and I don't want to beat a dead horse. But when I lost my socials, I just kind of was like, man, I just became really inconsistent. I just, I had a bad taste in my mouth, with social media, because I'm just like, man, I did all that work for all those years, and just like poof, like it's gone, right? So, but yeah, that's it. You know what I mean? Stay consistent. That's how you do it. Social media and just showing up. How to drop music the right way. So honestly, I feel like that's subjective, because, it used to be like, hey, look, if you got a single, drop it on Friday, right? Drop it on Friday, and send it out to playlisters, and, it could possibly hit the algorithm, and yada, 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 yada. And so I don't feel like that's really true anymore. But one of the things I do feel like is true is the 12 week release process. Meaning, if you have a good song, you need to be pumping out some content to tease that song before it even comes out. I just did it on a song called Ass Juice, which was a Joey Badass diss, right? Y'all can find that on this channel, and for TikTok, you guys can find that on, my YouTube channel, Ass Juice. So, I did that song, and so I pumped it up before I even dropped the song. So, well, no, I don't want to say before I dropped the song. I dropped the song, actually, and I pumped up the video. So I dropped the song. I did some things on TikTok where I was like, oh, I'm going to do this, blah, blah. And I got people pumped up for a week about it. And then I did the song, and everybody's like, ooh, you know what I mean? And I think I only dropped a snippet of the song. And then so after that, then we started talking about the video, and we were like, okay, boom, we went and shot the video, I think a couple of days afterwards. And then so I kept pumping up, the song, and we're putting out, pictures, dissing Joey Badass and all this stuff. And then, finally, a week later, I drop a snippet of the video, and then, we wait, I keep pumping that up, and then we drop another snippet of the video, you know what I mean? And people were getting excited, you know what I mean? Just dropping 30 seconds, boom, and then we dropped that, and then here we go, right? And then so everybody's waiting for the track to come out, and they're like, oh, damn, you know what I mean? That video's fire. So there's ways you do that, and I feel like dropping music the right way, if you're talking about a single, is just get them excited with snippets and everything like that. The day you drop it doesn't really matter. You just need to know that people are checking for it before. As far as dropping an album goes, I feel like you have to test a couple of songs and find out what your single is. If you're dropping an album, you have to test your music. And so before you drop it, make sure you're testing some of that music in certain places with certain people that aren't gonna obviously run off with your project. People that, you can't really trust nobody, but you know what I mean? Your group or whatever, test that music with your family, whatever, find out what your single is, go after that single, and then, let that single play out for a while. Let that single play out for a few months, you know what I mean? Before you even think about dropping an album. Honestly, what I've always done is I had a single, bam, I let that run, boom, 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 let that run for a couple of months, then I drop the next hottest single, my number 2, because it's always between 1 and 2, right? You have an A and B test. So the A and B test is, hey, it's A or B, which one's better? So you run the 2 hottest ones, and people are going to tell you which one's the hottest one. So you drop the first one, and then after that, after a couple of months, you drop the next one, and then you start, you keep pumping up the album the whole time. Boom, 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 yeah, this is coming, this is coming, this is coming. And then they're like, ooh, they got the first 2 songs, they're like, these are hot, okay, bam, and then now they want to hear the rest of the album, right? Just make sure the rest of the album hot. Don't do in the early 2000s where they'll pump up a single or 2 and then they drop the album and the whole album was trash. There's no point doing that no more because people ain't gonna buy it for $16 anyway. I hope they do, but probably not, right? So and then drop a like in the chat too, you know what I mean? If you guys are watching here on TikTok, what we're doing right now is we're actually doing questions for artists, independent artists, that are going to be going on YouTube. We're going to drop it, start a new TikTok, and help out some of these artists, let everybody get a chance to know who Mike Swagger is as I start to drop more music. But if you want to go check out some music right now, it is on Spotify. So okay, so why do most artists quit too early? I feel like you should never quit. I was born into the music industry, and my grandmother was a singer-songwriter and wrote up until the day she died. I always tell people that, and so quitting is not an option. I feel like, if you have to take a break, life happens to everybody, take a break. Take a year, take 2 years, take 3 years, however long you got to take, but study your craft, keep studying your craft, and people will tell you, oh, no, just stay consistent, blah, blah, blah. But people get burnt out. Life happens. Don't get down on yourself. If you know you have a skill and you have a talent, and people have verified that, you have been verified by industry executives or celebrity artists or whatever. You've been verified. Okay, you got a talent, you got a skill. We love it. You know what I mean? Me personally, I've been on the radio, I've been on TV, I've done this, I've done that, I've been signed. And so for me to quit would be stupid, but I feel like people get burnt out, or they feel like, oh, well, I'm getting too old for this and blah, blah, blah. you're never too old to make music. You know, you're never too. I don't care how old you get. You can always write something. There's always something happening in the world. There's always something happening in your life. There's always something that you want to talk about. You know, once you're a writer, you're a writer. Now, if you are somebody who needs somebody to write for you, that can be problematic because obviously that costs money, and if you don't have the money for it, or you know, you lose your writers, and you know, you just can't find somebody to match, you know, what you were writing, right, or like to match what you guys were doing, then that's when it becomes problematic, because it's like, okay, man, I need to find somebody who can duplicate that. And I'm not saying anything against, you know, well, listen, as a rapper, like, you shouldn't have a songwriter, but you know, as a singer, a lot of people have songwriters, right? And so if you can't find somebody to match that, and I personally think that's why it took Cardi B so long to drop another album. And I'm not trying to throw shade at her, but I think personally, because to find somebody to match that, what she did on her first album, which I think it was like Invasion of Privacy, I believe it was, to find somebody to match that, if you don't have the same writer, it's going to be tough, because they got to match that energy, they got to match the tone, they got to match the swag, they got to do all of that, and that's not an easy job. I don't care who you are, you know, to write in somebody else's, you know, perception and you know, the way they carry themselves, right? So again, why do most artists quit too early? I just feel like I feel like artists think it's like, number one, it's supposed to happen constantly overnight, you know what I mean? There's artists that have had good runs, stopped for a little bit, went away, and came back and had an even bigger run. And so it's about like the wherewithal of and patience of saying like, okay, right now this is not my time. You know, right now this is not my time, but it's my time to step back, reflect, and figure out what I'm going to do next. How am I gonna approach this again? People already know who I am. People already like what I do. How am I going to give them something that's the same but different? And, you know, even me as an artist, I get into my head sometimes. I'm like, man, like, okay, like, you know, I've written all this, you know, people love it. Okay, like, now what? Now what's next? You know, what am I going to do to... And I feel like every writer goes through that. I read that somewhere, that every writer goes through that. Like, after they write something, they're like, man, like, how am I ever going to write anything better than that? But if you continue to study your craft, you continue to mold yourself, you will get better. And that's the point. If you don't, like, if you just write some stuff and like, you're like, okay, like, now I'm dope, like, and I don't ever gotta practice, I don't ever gotta read no more, I don't ever gotta, you know, freestyle, I don't gotta, you know, study songwriting, I don't gotta, what? That's like saying a doctor, like, once they get their, you know, their MD, like, they just stop, like, practicing medicine. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, they're just like, okay, well, I'm a doctor now, so, you know, let me, you know, it's all good, like, I'm gonna go do surgery. You know, no, you have to continue to study. You have to continue to learn new things. You have to continue to have a niche, you know, in what you do, what type of artist you are, you know. So I feel like, you know, you shouldn't quit at all. You know, it's not for everybody. But I feel like, you know, if you constantly are trying to evolve and study, like, there would be no feeling in your heart that, like, I need to quit, right? So another question is easy ways to grow your fan base. So apparently TikTok, right? You know, although I don't want to say it's easy, but there is a lot of game out there for people who want to grow their fan base on TikTok, right? So TikTok Live, we're doing TikTok Live right now. I don't have a lot of people on here. Actually, I got 0 people watching right now on TikTok Live. I have about 900 followers on there. I'm just starting on my TikTok Live, right? But at the end of the day, it takes consistency. And it's going to take time for you to build that consistency. I will say one of the easiest ways to grow your fan base that I've done is by helping other artists film their content, you know, getting out there, getting into, you know, the circle and everything like that. And then also making sure that you have your marketing tools. Your marketing tools are huge. So when you first start performing, making sure you got flyers, making sure you got merch, making sure you got everything. You know, you gotta realize you're out there to give an experience. You're out there to make people want to see you again, right? People are gonna want to take pictures with your stuff. They're gonna want to say, "Hey, I got one," right? That's the point of you know, getting a fan base. How I started growing my fan base was number one, I practiced my craft. I practiced my, my performances. I made sure my performances were tight, all that stuff. But then I noticed that like people were not giving out any marketing tools. I was like, wow, like, people aren't coming out here with anything. They're just saying their name after the DJ, and then, they're bouncing out. They thought because people saw their name on the flyer, like, people cared, right? They heard the songs and they were dope, but, nobody cared afterwards. And so I saw, because CDs weren't in no more, right? So I'm like, I can't, like, pass out CDs. So I'm like, why don't I just pass out cards? They'll go straight to my Spotify. They'll go to my website, and they'll leave with something. They'll leave with something, whether it's a shirt, whether it's a wristband, whether it's a flyer, whether it's something. They'll leave with something, and they'll remember you specifically. But yes, make sure that your music is dope. Make sure your music is tight. You know what I mean? Because other than that, nobody's going to even remember your name. There's way too many artists that are performing usually at these shows. Like, if you're just starting, it's a showcase. It's like 30 artists there. How are you going to stand out? So that's one of the easiest ways, like if you're talking about doing shows and stuff like that to grow your fan base. And then obviously, TikTok, you got to stay consistent. And that's what I'm doing right now. So why your first song won't be your best? Man, well, I feel like your first song won't be your best because you don't even know who you are yet. Your first song won't be your best because you don't even know who you are yet as an artist. You don't know like your vocal tone yet. You don't know how to use your voice. You don't know your delivery yet. You don't know your real persona. You don't know like what you're trying to achieve, right? You want to talk about something, you want to rap, like, or you want to sing, but you don't really know who you are yet. So how can you convey that to somebody else of who you are if you don't even know yet, right? So I feel like your first song is just like, hearing your voice on the record and being like, oh man, that's me. You know what I mean? Like that's I did that, and you show it to a couple of friends and you listen to it, you're like, oh man, that's dope, but you haven't really, you don't know anything about songwriting. You haven't written, 100 songs to, consider yourself a songwriter. Again, you don't know your vocal tones. You don't know, your deliveries. You don't know your switch ups. There's a lot of things that come in to writing a song. Right? You want to rap and freestyle, cool. Like, a lot of people can just rap, but to actually write a song that's interesting, that people feel, and that brings them back and want to hear it again, and to be able to recreate that over and over and over again, that takes practice. It just takes practice. It takes doing it over and over again and finding out who you are. For me to start learning how to be a songwriter, one of the first ways I started, and you see a lot of artists do this still today. And I didn't write this, or as far as I didn't create this, it's not something new. I started like getting songs off the radio, I believe this is like 2010. And so whenever a new hot song would come on the radio, it's like YouTube was just popping. So whenever a new song would come on radio, I would go and find that song and find it with the hooks still in it. And then I would go and write my best lyrics to that song. And so that's how I kind of started learning how to, be a commercial songwriter, because I was like, okay, well, I want to be on the radio. So why don't I take tracks that are on the radio? And then if I can write better than them, then I know I'm getting better, right? You know what I mean? Like, so that's how I started doing it. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's people who have a lot of success with that. I've had a lot of success with tracks like that, where they still have the hook in them, or, somebody goes and remixes it, but it's that song. And, we see that every day. So the fastest way to get people to notice your music, I feel like that was kind of in the questions before. The fastest way to get people to notice your music is to keep putting it in their face. Keep putting it in their face as much as possible. Do this social media thing. I don't think it's really a secret. I think it's about, actually going out and doing it. Everybody pretty much knows how to do that, but they don't do it. Like, they're like, oh, well, I want people to notice my music, but they don't do anything about it. They're just like, oh man, well, and then, I'll tell you this. Hold on. It's getting fucking hot in here. So I'll tell you how to not do it, right? You know what I mean? How to get people to not notice your music. So if you want people to notice your music or not notice your music, go to shows and don't talk to nobody. Go to shows and keep running around these shows and not telling people your name. Keep running around and not having your marketing materials. Keep staying off of social media. That's how you don't get noticed. You know what I mean? That's how you get people to not notice your music. And also talking to strangers, man. Like talking to as many people as you can is going to help you get your music noticed. Hold on, let me get this thing back up. Let me see. Get these questions back up. My bad, y'all. Yeah, stay tapped in. I'm answering these questions for y'all, man. We're gonna build this thing. So, let me see. So the question was, fastest way to get people to notice your music. Yeah, man. Like, you know, I don't care if you guys stand on the side with, you know, on the street with a cardboard sign. You know what I mean? Like, there's people out there that are street performing, and you have to realize, like, if you're not out there doing it, somebody is, right? If you're too shy to do it, there's somebody that isn't. There's somebody that's willing to put their whole persona out there, and, you know, you really have to, like, you know, embody, you know, this person that you're becoming and live in your truth as far as being an artist. And you have to walk that every day. You know, you have to, you know, talk to people about it. You know, that has to be the person that you are. It can't be like, oh, well, I'm an artist sometimes, and then, you know, sometimes, you know, I just go to work and all that stuff. Like, even at work, tell people, like, yeah, I got this going on. A lot of people ain't gonna show up right away, you know what I mean? Like, but just keep doing it anyway, man, and have your marketing materials, and, you know, put them everywhere, go everywhere, you know, reach out to podcasts, you know, start your own podcast, start your own, you know, channels and everything like that. You know, some people do reactions and things like that. You know, I'll probably do some of those reactions, but, you know, really just starting your own community. And when you start your own community of people, then you're not relying on going out there and getting acceptance from other people, right? You know what I mean? If anything, they're coming to you. That's the biggest way to get your music noticed. If you're talking about like the industry professionals, like, build your own community. When I started with him at radio, we had our own community. All of a sudden, Snoop Dogg's people's coming out to see us, you know, all the way to Riverside, which y'all probably don't know what Riverside is, but, you know, Riverside, California is about, you know, an hour or something from LA towards the east, and, like, nobody go out there. It's the desert, you know, everybody like, oh, Riverside, ain't nobody out there. But because we had built our own community and we had thousands of people following us before TikTok, this was before TikTok, right? We only had Facebook and a little bit of Instagram. People wasn't even really doing Instagram like that, to be honest. So we had Facebook, and so we had a community of, you know, thousands of people, and people were following us. They were jumping onto our radio show. They was calling in, and so people, like, gravitated to, who are these people? Who is Mike Swagger? Who is, you know, this artist? Who is that artist? That's how you get people to notice your music. You have to build your own community. Stop worrying about, like, everybody else and what they got going on. Focus solely on your own people. Deliver to your own people, the people that follow you, the people that want to see you make it, the people that tune in to your live streams. Focus on those people, because those are the people that are going to get you noticed. It's not, you know, these freaking industry people. They ain't going to do nothing for you, man. I'm telling you, they ain't going to do shit for you. Right? You know, most of them won't. They'll say, I can do this, I can do that. You know, I've been signed to labels where they're like, oh, I'm going to do this, I can do this, blah, I can do this, I can do that. But you know what? The only thing they wanted to see was that I had my own community. And when I lost that, then they was gone. So focus on your own community. Make sure it's solid, and you'll be good. Okay, so... yeah, we lose some people on TikTok, but I appreciate y'all, man. Keep jumping on. What's going on? Stay tapped in. We doing some questions right now, y'all. I don't want y'all to not be tapped in, but we doing some questions right now on Instagram, just about you know, independent artists, you know, how to get their music noticed and things like that. For y'all don't know, I'm Mike Swagger. Tap in, Spotify. We're about to be releasing some new music. We're getting ready for that. But we just building this community, you know what I mean? So make sure you hit that follow button. I am going to be doing a whole new channel, but we're going to be doing a whole lot of clips out of all this stuff. So that's why we're doing this right now. You guys can stay on and watch, you know what I mean? And just kick it. Ask any questions that you want to as well. So let's see. So the next question is how to promote your music without being annoying. Who cares? Right? I'm gonna say it again. How to promote your music without being annoying. Who cares? Who cares? If they're annoyed, then let them keep scrolling. If they're annoyed, let them hate. Let them make, BS comments. One of the things that I think hurt me the most in the beginning of my career was when YouTube first came out. Like, it was hard for me to deal with the comments. It was hard. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Like, and it's I hate to say it, but it's true. Like, you know what I mean? When people would make messed up comments on my stuff, it was discouraging. Because I didn't always know my voice, and people always like, oh, well, you sound white. You know what I mean? Like, whoa, or like, or like my delivery wasn't good at the time, and I always had creative bars, because I'm an English student, and so at heart, and I love English, so. Always had good bars and creativity, but my flow wasn't there. I didn't know how to use my voice yet, all those things. And so, I got a lot of flack in the beginning. Now people like, oh, okay, you know what I mean? And so, but I didn't know how to deal with that. I didn't know how to deal with the online hate, you know what I mean? I didn't know how to deal with, well, maybe my people ain't gonna like it, blah, blah, should I put it out? Who cares? So what? Your confidence anyway is what's going to get you to, like, as an artist, especially if you rap. You better be confident. You know what I mean? Like, there's not, like, you don't rap and be like, oh, like, timid, and you know what I'm saying? Like, that's not what a rapper is. That's why women love rappers so much, is because of the confidence. You know what I mean? The aura, the like, I'm him. You know what I mean? I'm the shit. That's the reason why, I'm not saying that's why we rap, but that is the persona of a rapper, of a hip hop artist, is the confidence. So if you're worried about people being annoyed, you're already in the wrong mind state. You're in the wrong mentality. You need to be like, I don't care. I got something to say. Y'all gonna love it or hate it. Oh well, it's gonna be in your face, and if you don't like it, you know what to do. Keep it pushing. You know what I mean? Like, that is the mentality. Don't worry about people getting annoyed. What to post on TikTok as an artist? Honestly, I'm still trying to figure that out myself. You know what I mean? Like, as I start my TikTok journey, I'm not going to sit here and cap with y'all and be like, oh, well, you need to post this, you need to post that. Like, whoop, whoop, you're going to go viral, What I've seen so far, as far as artists going viral and, how to post as an artist, is just like this. I see more, the major celebrities, because I like, as far as marketing, you have to, like, watch certain things. Watch what people are doing right, watch what people are doing wrong. Freestyling on TikTok, I don't think works. I think people do it, and I don't think they'll ever be seen. You know what I mean? I don't think they'll ever get to the industry. I just don't think it works at all. Now, as far as posting stuff like this, like just talking to your audience and letting your audience get to know you, I think that is the best thing for you. Also, like, dance videos, I'm assuming those always work. If you can dance and you have dance music, doing dance videos, stuff that has like hooks in it, like they say, to like really get people quickly, or almost like trick them into watching it for the first 3 seconds and then it goes into a song or something like that. But I'm not going to sit here and say I'm an expert. What I have noticed, as far as artists even getting back, like, even like the artists that have become irrelevant, you know what I mean? The way they have kind of got their face back out there is by doing interviews, doing podcasts, talking about situations, what's going on in the industry, you know what I mean? Like, having some type of expertise on, what's happening, or just not even expertise, just an opinion, just having an opinion, what's going on in the industry, how it I don't want to say it reflects on you, but like, basically like your thoughts on it, and like as an artist, and that's pretty much it. Like, hey, look, this is what I think about it. As an artist, I would be like this or whatever. Your opinion on that. Whatever had happened. So, just letting people get to know you, is I think the best way and the best things to post on TikTok. Because if people don't know who you are, they don't care, they don't see your personality, all they hear is a song. Anybody can do that. I don't want to say anybody, but most people can. And then you got AI right now. People are writing songs with AI. And so, people want to see that you're a real person. They want to connect with you, and then they can be a part of your community. If you're just here to, freestyle and, show how dope you are, there's a lot of people that are freestyling right now on TikTok that will never see the light of day. You know what I mean? I never freestyled on TikTok, and I'm deep in the industry. And again, I started before TikTok, you know what I mean? But, the things that I do still work. People are still following the things that I said to do, or that I just said to do today. And they're still using it to further themselves in the industry. So, the best mind state for a new artist. So we're going to talk about that. You know what I mean? The best mind state for a new artist. So the best mind state for a new artist, I would say, think longevity, right? We all talk about Nipsey Hussle, the marathon, and how it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. I feel like, because we have things like TikTok and not so much Instagram anymore, and not so much Spotify anymore when you're talking about, discoverability, right? Being discovered. It's mainly TikTok, right? You know what I mean? Like, and even when it's on like a podcast or something like that, it's still on TikTok. YouTube as well is still a big one. But discoverability is definitely TikTok. So, as a new artist, I understand, with TikTok, we always think man, we're just it just needs to blow up. It just needs to blow up overnight and blah, blah, blah. That can happen, but think long term. As a new artist, think okay, man, it could take 5 years. It could take 5 years of me grinding this out and doing what I gotta do and running around and getting this content and everything like that. Now in today's day and age, if you really, really hustle and you put out 1,000 pieces of content and and say in 4 months you put out 1,000 pieces of content in 4 months, I mean, it's probably not going to take you that long. However, as a new artist, you still have to realize you're a new artist. So that means your music isn't right yet. And that is the problem with music right now, in my opinion, as far as artists and why they don't stick around. It's like the 80s, when they had all these one-hit wonders that were coming out, right? And probably because the radio was hot and everybody's like, oh my God, I just put my song on the radio and now I'm famous, woo! But they wrote one song, there was no catalog behind it, the artist was not developed yet, the artist wasn't well known, wasn't nurtured, wasn't, in the right circles. You had one song that blew up on TikTok, and then all of a sudden, you're famous and you don't know what to do with it. Right? You don't have the right people around you. You don't know, the industry is crazy, man. You'll get snaked, right? You get snaked in a second. People want to take what you got. They don't want to see you have it, or they want to take more than what they deserve, right? Or they want to lead you down the wrong path because they don't give a damn. Right? So when you're talking about a new artist, just have the longevity mind state of okay, I'm not in a rush. I want to develop myself. I want to build a catalog and let your audience see you build that catalog. So if you're in there and you're in the studio every day and you're I'm going to write 100 songs and I want my audience to, I want to build my community on the fact that I'm going to do 100 songs. I'm going to do 100 songs in a year. Which is a lot, but I'm not saying it's not doable. Especially if you're a new artist, you should still have, you're fresh, you know what I mean? So you don't have to kind of stay in no type of box. You can just do whatever and figure out what works for you, right? So say you're I want to do, or 50 songs, whatever. I want to do 50 songs in a year. And I want to film 10 pieces of content for every single one of those songs. I want to film the process of it. I want to do all that stuff. Now you have developed yourself. And not only have you developed yourself, you're showing that you're developing, right? You're showing, hey, look, man, I've gotten better, blah, blah, blah. Here's some new music, here's my process. And then your fans get a chance to see the whole process of you creating that catalog, be a part of it, see your development. And now when your stuff starts blowing up, it's like, okay, I'm not surviving off of one song. If that one song blow up and then people is like, okay, cool, what's next? And then you don't have anything, then what? Right? And me personally, I don't have a big catalog. You know, I probably have like out as far as like, you know, on Spotify, I probably have like 36 songs, maybe. I think I have about, you know, 36 songs, something like that. But the point is, you know, I still have stuff in the chamber. I still have stuff I haven't released. I have, you know, stuff that I'm going to write, but I still have a catalog of things that have been on the radio. I have a catalog of stuff that's been on the TV or on TV. I have a catalog. So if I go write a brand new hit and it blows up, boom, and they're like, okay, Mike Swagger, I need you to do a show for 45 minutes. I can do that and still, you know, tear up an audience. But if I got one song and they're like, cool, I love that song, and then they're like, okay, well, what else you gonna do for 45 minutes? You know what I'm saying? Nothing. You ain't got nothing that people like or know, and it's all experimental. You haven't tested it on nobody, and so that's the point. As a new artist, you need to be thinking about longevity and building your catalog. Testing your music is a big one. Test your music. You know, you can't like don't just go out there and try to like blow up and, you know, and you ain't tested your music. You ain't tested your sound. You ain't, you know, marketing is all about testing, you know. Do they like it? Do they like this? Or do they like when I say my word like this or like that, or, you know, whatever? You know what I mean? Like, so just have the longevity mind state. Realize that brands don't last, like Coca-Cola don't last for 100 years because, you know, they just made a thing one time. And now, of course, they got their formula, right? You know, but how many times did it take them to get that formula? Right? How many times did it take them to get that formula? And then they have other products that they use, you know, with the Coke Vanilla and the Coke Lime and the whatever. Right? So it's like they have their formula, yeah, and then they add a little of this and then they try a little bit of that and try, oh, they didn't like that, okay, I'll pull that off the market, okay, I'll try that. So it's like, it's about, you know, getting the formula right, which could take, you know, 1,000 tries, and then, you know, adding a little bit of this to it, adding a little bit of vanilla, adding a little bit of lime to it, you know, give them a little twist, and then they say, oh, okay, I like that, or oh, I don't like that, and then you go back, you still have the regular formula, and then you try something else. That's what it's about. So what labels really look for? I've been signed once, almost signed. I almost signed the first time, but they messed up. They thought they had me under contract. They didn't. So when I made them pull my music, it was easy. And so this is actually, this album, aka The One. This album, aka The One, is the second time I've had a label pull my music off, that I have to put back up myself. What labels look for, I feel like, and today, like even when I first was supposed to be signed, I feel like what they're looking for is what the things I've been talking about is your community. They want to see that you have your own community, your own following, that you can, you know, bring people to shows. That's the biggest, I would say, like, that's really the biggest one. Even if you have a community of following online, that's cool, but like, the people that can bring the most people to shows, I would say more than like, and of course, if you can bring people to shows, like you're probably gonna go viral at some point, or you know have you know a good social media following. But I would say more than social media. I mean, of course, I don't want to knock social media at all. Like, definitely work on social media, get your following up, get those, you know, that community of people, but have your plan on how you're going to get physical tickets sold. That is the biggest thing that is going to get you to the next level. I am not joking. I don't care how much you're on the computer. I don't care how big your following is on Instagram or TikTok or none of that stuff. Yeah, that's all fine and dandy, but if you cannot bring people to shows, nobody will care. Period, point blank. That, you know what I mean? Like, you have to have that plan down. How are you going to market to get people out to your shows? So while you're working on your social media, all that stuff, have a plan. How are you going to sell those physical tickets, right? You're going to be in your town for the beginning of it. You're going to be in your town, in your area, and all that stuff. So how are you going to bring people to that show? How are you going to get them interested enough to come buy a ticket and watch you perform, right? and you're probably not gonna be starting off as the headliner, unless you got like a really dope song and cool. But like again, you're probably not gonna be starting off as the headliner. So how are you gonna get people to come and show that, hey, this guy brought the most people? And that's how you continue to go to the next show. If you bring nobody, they're not calling you back, straight up. You know what I mean? Or they're gonna say, hey, well, you gotta pay us to perform because you didn't bring nobody. And then you're gonna be like, I don't want to pay to perform. That's stupid. Why would I pay to perform? And they're gonna say, well, then why would I book you? Because you're not bringing anybody, and I gotta have this time slot, and somebody else is either gonna bring people that are gonna pay me, or I'm gonna charge them as well. So, and I don't suggest paying to play. Sometimes you do gotta start greasing the wheels a little bit, or get into favor, spend some money with some known people or whatever. But when you do that, if you are going to do that, make sure you can get your money back. Say, hey, listen, okay, well, I'll pay the $300 as long as I get tickets to make my money back or make some more money, right? And that way you can mitigate the risk by saying, okay, well, I got the ticket money, or I got the tickets, now I can sell the tickets and show that I can actually bring people without just coming out of pocket, right? So that's a way to do that. But as far as what labels really look for, just to jump back on that really quick, as far as what labels really look for, I feel like really they just really look to take advantage. Most of the stuff is knowledge they put out now. Even the label I was signed to now is putting out all this information. Like, they didn't do anything for me. And, they wanted to charge me for all these services. They signed me, didn't get no money out of it, and they wanted to charge me for all these services. And I was like, okay, why am I signed to you again? I can do all this stuff on my own. And when I put out that information saying like, oh man, they ain't doing nothing, they basically blocked me. You know what I mean? It was like, oh, they don't want to talk to me or whatever. And then after that, what happened? Now the label exec putting out all this free information. I'm like, dude, like if you had all this information, why didn't you help the artists out? Instead, what you did was kept it to yourself to try to sell services when you could have made sure that your artists were popping. That's why you signed us. But instead, you're like, no, we'll buy the service. Now you on freaking TikTok and Instagram giving out that information anyway. So like, you know what I mean? Like, it's ridiculous. So don't worry about what the labels look for. Just worry about getting people to your shows and getting your social media numbers up. The shows are the biggest thing. Get people out to your shows. Why do visuals matter more than you? Why your visuals matter more than you think? Well, for me, like, because I do video as well, the visuals, I mean, it's like what they say, video killed the radio star, right? People want to see something. People want to see that, other people are connecting with you. They want to, it helps to make people have that, fear of missing out. Like, wow, that was a great party. Like, I wish I was there. And, wow, like, that guy looks like he can perform, or, whatever. They can see the energy, and again, people connecting with you. As far as like music videos and stuff, your visuals matter a lot because really you're supposed to be telling a story. I don't like all the music videos that I be seeing with like all the hood videos, and it's just a bunch of girls dancing and they at the liquor store and yada yada yada. I mean, whatever. It has its place. It's its own genre of music videos, so I get it. However, like, when I grew up anyway, music videos had a storyline. It was like a small video. It was like a small movie, right? Like it was an experience that I watched, and it was like, oh, okay, like this is like a small movie, and it's giving me a whole storyline and plot line, and and this is going on in the video, and that's why I think the visuals matter the most. If you're just doing like regular videos like that, or short form videos, that's cool as well. But even then, if you're doing like a plot line, you can still cut that up into short videos. Like you could even go as far as doing a music video that's a bunch of scenes that you can cut into short videos, right? So if your music video has 10, 20 scenes, you can take each one of those scenes and put that on TikTok, right? You know what I mean? Like, so there's ways to go about it, but your visuals are definitely important because it gives people a chance to connect with you. It gives them a chance to connect with the story, go in deeper with the song, see that other people are connecting with you, have a fear of missing out for the next time, things like that. So yeah, visuals are definitely really important. I would say, I'm not gonna say more important than the music, but if you don't have any visuals and you're just putting out a song, it's gonna be tough. Let's see. How to build momentum before a release. I think I covered that already. How to build momentum before a release. If you're talking about an album, definitely have a single or two. Really, I say two. If you have an album, your two hottest songs that are going neck and neck for the number one single, and release one, right? Keep talking to people about it. Give them snippets, everything like that. Release the single. Bam, you got that single. That one's going hot. Do your video. Make that happen, keep pumping that out. Then drop the other single on them, bam, right? And they're like, "Ooh, man, we already knew that one was hot, but then now you have this one." I did that with PIMP and All Booties Matter. And actually what I did was I did PIMP, boom, and I think I had I can't remember what else I did. Oh, I had PIMP and After Dark. So that was for the After Dark album. So I had PIMP and I had After Dark. Those were my top two singles. So I released PIMP. That was my number one single. Bam. Everybody was hyped about that. I'm going crazy with it. And then I hit them with After Dark. Bam. And I dropped the album called After Dark. So, you're giving them something that everybody wants. And they're like, bam, okay, yeah, that's hot. We love that. We're going crazy about this song. And then you hit them with another one. And they're like, ooh. And then you hit them with the album, right? So that's how you do it for an album. As far as releasing a single, I would say that do your singles after the album. Your singles should be a follow-up, right? So you got the album's going hot, it's starting to simmer a little bit, it's starting to kind of everybody's like the bubble and pop, and they're like, okay, cool, and then you hit them with a single, bam, and possibly a feature, right? A feature with a single, whether it's a celebrity or not, that's up to you, but you hit them with a little feature, or just a regular single, and and you keep it going like that. How to keep fans interested in between drops. Like this, content, just showing your face, as many podcasts as you can do. That would be, I would say that's probably the biggest thing. Doing as much content as you can, and just being seen, just having your face out there. If you're performing, that's great. You should be. If you had a good release and you're doing all the things I talked about before, then you should have fans interested because you're going out to shows, you're around these people, you're doing this, you're doing that, and you're filming it the whole time. You got content. If you're lucky, you have a friend that's willing to get out there with a camera for you, and you're just pumping out the content, showing that you're over here, you're moving around. You want to show that you have motion, and also be on these podcasts and things like that. That's the best way to keep fans interested. Maybe showing up, doing stuff in your community is another one. I feel when I was first coming up, we did a lot in the community. I was working with the news channel, and so we went to different events that weren't rap events, right? Just appearances. Hey, there's a charity event over here. I'm going over here, show my face, show my support. How you guys doing? Let's give out some turkeys. And, I know everybody does that, but not everybody. Some people do that, but stuff like that, appearances. Just show up. Show up to a red carpet if you can. Show up, take pictures, shake hands, and get the content for it. Put it out there. That's the way you keep people interested. They got to see that you're still moving around. They don't want to just see you drop a song, the song is dropped, and then you okay, cool. That's it. And I get life happens. It's happened to me. Again, I dropped Ass Juice in the summer. Fire. Everybody's like, ooh, you know what I mean? Are you back? Woo, 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 woo. And, my money ran dry, and I was like, bro, I'm at the house. You know what I mean? cool. But everybody was calling me like, and I'm like, I can't even go, bro. I gotta get my bread right. So definitely make sure, like, when you do start dropping music, like, when you're ready to go, make sure you have your ducks in a line. You got some savings, you whatever, if you got a 9-to-5 job or you got whatever, however you got your money, you know what I mean? Like, that you have the ability to keep going. You don't want to stop. You don't want to start and stop. You want to make sure you have the ability to just keep moving. And in that way, when you're doing that and you're putting out the content of it, people will love it, man. And they're going to stay interested, okay? Why every artist needs a brand? That's a big one. Why does every soda need a brand? Why does every clothing line need a brand? Why does every, you know what I'm saying? Why does this camera I'm filming on needs a brand? Why does the monitor that I have over here need a brand? Everything is branding, right? Everything is branding. And so it's not, I don't think it's necessarily why you need a brand. It's like thinking about what your brand is. I told that to a DJ friend of mine, and I said, dude, like, what's your brand? Like, what he always talks about, oh, I'm, the West Coast bad boy, blah, 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 this and that. And I'm like, okay, cool. But what's your brand? Like, what are you? Like, why do I need to watch you DJ? Like, why should I come and see you versus seeing somebody else DJ? You're the West Coast bad boy. What does that mean? I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, you're the West Coast Diddy? You know what I'm saying? Like, right? You know what I mean? So what does that mean to me? So, I had him thinking about his brand, and like, as far as me, my brand is Mike Swagger, right? It's about like getting on the mic, saying what you gotta say, saying it tight, you know what I mean? Like, having that persona of like, not necessarily like I don't give a crap, but like, just like, the way I carry myself, the let me think. Like the words that I say and how I say them and my attitude and persona is my brand, right? Mike Swagger. Like, hey, look, when I speak, y'all feel some type of way. That's the way it is. How I say things and the way I word it and the way I talk and the way I formulate, my thoughts together and put that to a track is my brand. Right? So, when I first started, it was like, people was like, oh, well, how you gonna be Swagger? Like, you don't even dress like that, you know what I mean? Like, I was wearing Dickie shorts and tank tops and, you know what I'm saying? Like, and so it wasn't like, what everybody considered swagger, which swagger is not that. It's not, it has nothing to do with, the type of clothes you wear. It can be like, depending on how you wear it or whatever, because it's arrogance, right? Arrogance and essentially a little bit of confidence, but, really arrogant. So, depending on how you wear your clothes, I guess you could be considered arrogant. But it's not, that's not what swagger is. And so when it came to me, Mike Swagger, I was like, okay, so that's my brand. It's about how I spit it. It's about my attitude. It's about the arrogance that I have on the mic. Not about coming at it timid and being like, oh, well, I'm going to say some stuff and I don't really believe it, And so you could say there's a lot of people have Mike Swagger, you know what I'm saying? Like a lot of people have that to them, but that's how my brand came about. I got the swagger on the mic. I'm Mike Swagger, you feel me? So, yeah, you definitely need a brand. That's how people connect with you. That's how people, like, just to jump back on that real quick, like, nobody would even dare call me Mike Swagger if I didn't do that, right? You know what I mean? Like, if I didn't stand to that name, if I didn't make sure my music reflected why I'm called Mike Swagger, why my brand is, and I got named Swagger because of how I dance. I was dancing with arrogance and swag and, confidence, but then I got the Mike Swagger because of how I rap. So, basically my whole thing about me is not just arrogance, arrogance too, I can't remember the other term for swagger, but, there is an arrogant way about me and that confidence. And so that showed up in my dancing, it showed up in my rapping. And so, Mike Swagger, nobody would ever go for that and call me Mike Swagger. They're like, nah, hell no, you ain't no damn Mike Swagger if I didn't have it, right? So now my brand is solidified when people talk to me, they're like, oh, Mike Swagger. Right. Yeah, we already know. You feel me? So, yeah, your brand is super important because it allows people to recognize who you are, what you stand for, why they're connecting with you, and, essentially, it gives them a picture of your art. So, the easiest way to get collaborations. Well, honestly, I haven't collaborated too much. Coming up, it was like, if you did tracks with people, it's hard to collaborate because sometimes you fall out with people, and then it's like, okay, now I got this song, and then they ain't showing up, and now I can only do one verse, which is fine. That happens all the time. There's nothing wrong with that. I would say the easiest way to collaborate with people is just, the people that are around you. When you first start, whether you first start or not, the people are around you. It's better to do it, I feel like, when you first start because, people get weird and start asking for money and they ain't even really worth that. And some of them are, but, a lot of them aren't. Excuse me one second. So when you first start, definitely, start getting your collaborations in and just, have fun with it. Just talk to your friends, the friends that that are rapping. Usually when you first start and you're around a bunch of people who are doing it, and just start collaborating with them. Hey, yo, what's up? Let's collab. Let's collab. Or you can get online and ask people, hey, do you want to collab with me? A lot of people won't do that. So I feel like that's the long way to go. Trying to find like collabs and stuff like that. Another way you could do it is you could just go on. I don't know what TikTok is doing. It's making me do a puzzle piece for y'all. Hold up. It says unable to verify. There we go. Okay. So I feel like another way to get collaborations is like I said, like if you want to learn how to write industry songs, find songs on YouTube with the hook on it. You know what I mean? And you can like collab by yourself essentially with industry artists by doing that, because now you're collabing with, you got Chris Brown on the hook and you're doing a track to it. You know what I'm saying? Like, and so you're learning how to collab with other artists. But generally, like I said, when you're first starting, you're usually around like other artists. Just ask them, hey, yo, you want to jump on this track? Hey, man, I got an open verse. You want to jump on this track? Hey, jump on this track. Hey, you know what I mean? Like, and people will jump on it. Like, just because they, you know what I mean? Especially if it's dope. Like, I mean, have a dope track. Like, people aren't going to want to collab with you if it sucks or they think you suck. They're not going to do it. So, just have some good music, talk to the people around you, see if they want to collab. Why your music needs a hook that hits fast. So, why your music needs a hook that hits fast? Why your music needs a hook that hits fast? Because that's what's people are gonna gravitate towards. Like, you have to realize that people's attention spans are very, very short right now. And they probably will be for a long time. Forever, right? I don't think they're going to get any longer. Like, maybe there's a possibility that people's attention spans, they're going to, eventually it's going to go back to people wanting long form content. The short form content, I mean, it can only be so short, right? So there's a possibility that, that might change. However, right now, your hook needs to hit really fast because people have the ability to scroll. They have millions of songs to listen to. And if it don't hit right away, it's going to be hard for people to get into. A lot of people aren't going to, especially if they don't know you, right? Now, if you're a known artist and they know that, hey, listen, you got to wait a couple of seconds for his, he takes a second before it hits. That's different. But if you're trying to get people and you're just building your audience, you're just building your fans, your hooks better be, they better come in, they better hit, they better, they better do everything that they're supposed to do when that hook comes in. No dragging it out and all that stuff. And your hooks better be good. You know what I mean? Like, they better make sense. But the hooks, yeah, definitely the most important thing, especially, again, you're talking about TikTok. TikTok, your hooks are what people are going to gravitate towards for their dance videos, right? They're going to, people really ain't going to know the verse, but they'll know that hook, right? And if that hook is heard, 10 million times, guess what? People are going to be singing that 10 million times, you know, when you go do your show. So, you know, make sure that the hook is good, and make sure the hook is great, not good. Make sure the hook is great, and that should be where you spend your most time in the beginning. Like, you know, when you're listening to the beat, you know, personally, I don't even write a bar until like I'm like, okay, that's my hook. That's my hook. And sometimes I'm not completely done with the hook. Like I got it kind of written, I have it written out, and I make some adjustments. You know, that's writing. You have to make edits. But you know, I'm like, okay, that's my hook. That's it right there. That's something people are gonna feel. It's gonna hit. They're gonna grab it. They can repeat it. You know, it's repetitive enough, but not too repetitive. You know, so the hook is definitely the most important thing. I'm sure you'll hear that all the time. Even if you're talking about content, the hook, the hook, the hook. So, you know, whatever it is, you know, whether it's a commercial, whether it's a song, whether it's content, the hook is always the most important. You're trying to make a sale, the hook. So make sure when you're writing a song, I personally start at the hook. The reason why I don't start with the verses, I used to. The reason why I don't start with the verses is because I would write some dope verses, and then all of a sudden, I get to the hook, and I'm like, okay, what's this song about? You know what I'm saying? Like, I done wrote all this out. You know what I mean? I done wrote 3 verses, and I ain't got no hook. You know what I'm saying? Like, so start with the hook. Make sure that you had that down. I don't care if you got to listen to the song, the beat 1,000 times. Make sure that hook is fire. That's not only going to, you know, catch the audience, but it's going to tell you what the song is about. It's going to make writing the verses a lot easier. Let's see. How do you find your sound as a new artist? I did cover this a little bit, but how you find your sound as a new artist? How you find your sound as a new artist? I would say the biggest thing is test your music. Test your music. Try out a bunch of different styles. How I ended up the artist that I am today, which they call contemporary hip hop, is I tried so many styles because I didn't know what I wanted to do. Like, so I was doing hip hop rock, hip hop pop, hip hop R&B, rap. You know what I mean? Like, and I tried all of it. And so like, well, I think my first, not my first album, like, you know, kind of like my mixtape or whatever. Like, my homie was like, it sounds like you don't know what you don't what kind of music you want to do or whatever. You don't got no sound that, like, you know, it's always the same. And I was like, well, I just like music, you know what I mean? So I hear a fire beat, I write to it. You feel me? And so I was trying all types of different music, and eventually I started finding a sound, you know. And I found a producer that I liked his beats, and you know, so once I found that producer, and like I tried out all my sounds, and I found that producer, and I was like, oh, okay, I can get these beats for a cheap price. Okay, I'm gonna go with this producer for the album. And now I know this producer has a sound, and if I stick with this producer, then I have a sound, right? Does that make sense? So if he's got a sound, and I rap to his beats, it's gonna give me a sound. I feel like what happens is a lot of people, like, they don't have a sound because, you know, they pick one producer for one beat, they pick another producer for another beat, they pick another producer for another beat, another, you know. Find a producer that you can work with that has a sound already and complement that style. Now, up until then, yeah, try a bunch of different stuff. Try this producer, whatever, blah, 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 you know, and figure out what you like and where you sound good at. Test your music with your friends, with your family, you know, do some shows and see what people are complimenting you on. Oh man, that one right there was fire. That when you did that song right there, oh, woo, woo. And the ones that people gravitate towards the most, then you refine that. You refine that style. And you find yourself a producer, either the producer that did that song, you continue to work with that person, or you find somebody who is similar that you can do a deal with where you can get a beat pack or something like that. They're always going to have similar songs because, you know, you have a style, they have a style. Complement that style, and now you have your own sound. That's how you do that. Why consistency beats talent? Ooh. Man, I wish I knew. No, you know, in the beginning of my career, I was very, very consistent, and I feel like over the last few years, I've kind of like, you know, taken a step back, you know, and life happens. But no excuses. Consistency is it beats talent because people are always seeing you. And they're always seeing your face, they're always hearing your music. Now, again, like, you know, not everybody's talented and, you know, they're famous or whatever, but I would say have some type of talent or at least be skill, because talent is, you know, something that, you know, you easily develop naturally and it just happened. Skill is something you have to learn, and there's nothing wrong with being skilled. So, you know, I would say as far as consistency goes, it's just about, again, being in everybody's face all the time. For them to want to see you, to expect to see you. So when they don't see you, they're like, where are you at? It's like when I go to the gym and I'm in there, I'm killing it, and people are like, man, like, damn, he's killing it in the gym, like, blah, blah, blah. When I don't show up for a couple days, they're like, dude, like, where were you? You know what I mean? Like, I haven't seen you in a while. Like, what's going on? Like, you know what I mean? Like, they miss you. And that's what you want. So be consistent, be in their face enough to when you're not there, they're like, wait, hold on, like, hey, yo, bro, where you been at? That's why consistency beats talent. Regardless, if somebody sees you all the time and they don't see you, psychologically, they're gonna like, where were you? And if you're somebody that they really noticed and you're gone, they're gonna be like, dude, like, hey, like, hold up, we kind of missing this energy right now. Like, you know, where you at? So consistency definitely beats talent. But if you're not talented, nobody's really gonna care that you're gone. Let's see. The power of storytelling in your music. Storytelling is huge. I don't think people utilize it as much as they used to in music, especially in hip hop, and maybe that's why it's having a rough time. I think if people told stories more, hip hop wouldn't be struggling as much as it is. We have a lot of freestyle rappers, meaning that, I guess, I can't remember who was talking about this, but it was on the not Shade podcast. Can't remember the NFL guy that has a podcast now. Anyway, so there was somebody on his podcast, and they were talking about how freestyling used to be just like writing about how dope you were, and, you know, how many cars you got, and, you know, yada 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 yada. It wasn't necessarily just off the top of the dome, right? That's what they call freestyling, was off the top of the dome. So I feel like right now we have a lot of freestyle rappers not telling any stories and not talking about their life, not talking about what's going on. That's real. You know, we have a lot of hood rappers, especially on the West Coast, and, you know, they talk about, you know, the hood. That's what they talk about. But it's like, you got a whole life outside of that, hopefully, right? You got a whole life. You know, you got, you know, brothers and sisters, and a life that happens, and, you know, you got to wake up and go to sleep, and, you know, you know, hopefully maybe you had a girlfriend, or, you know, or a wife, or kids, and, you know, I mean, life happens to you. Life happens to everybody. And so I feel like, you know, people don't really convey that anymore in music. Artists don't really convey that anymore in hip hop. And I feel like that's why we're losing. It's like, where is the story? I've always been a storyteller rapper, and I've always talked about my life. I've always talked about real events, things that have happened to me. You know, even if I don't want to say I've exaggerated, but like maybe here or there, you know, I, you know, exaggerate a little bit in my story as far as like whatever's going on. But for the most part, everything is completely real. You know, something that's happened to me, or something that I've seen, or something that I've gone through, or something that somebody I know has gone through, and, you know, I'm talking about it. Have I done cool songs where it's just like, oh, whoop-de-wop, whatever? Yeah, sure. And I mean, even then, I'm still talking about my real life. But, you know, have I done just, you know, like PIMP? Like, that wasn't really, you know, a storytelling song. It was just a bunch of cool rhymes, right? But storytelling is huge because it gives people a chance to connect with you. And don't forget, like I keep telling y'all, it's all about connecting with other people. You're making a sale, right? You're making a sale to people. The transfer of energy. That's what this medium does. That's what a microphone does. You're transferring energy, vibrations through a medium. So when I talk, my vocal cords vibrate, the microphone vibrates, your speaker vibrates, your eardrums vibrate. I am transferring energy to you by my tone, the way I say things, the way I enunciate, which is how I say things, right? How you enunciate. The volume, the amplitude of how I say it, like all those things, like that matters. And so, you know, when you're telling a story and you can tell it a certain way and you can tell it with authenticity and you know how to enunciate and you know how to ring all those vocal cords and vibrations and all that stuff, like you will connect with people. And at the end of the day, when you do music, you want to connect with people. I mean, at least I do. I mean, people do it for whatever reason they want to do. I do music because I want to connect with people and I want them to be able to feel where I'm coming from. And, you know, if you're just, you know, on a track, you're, yeah, and I did this, and I did that, and my life like that. Nobody cares. Nobody's cares. That might sound dope for a little bit, but, like, if you really, really want to connect with them, think about, like, Tupac. Think about Eminem. You know, the thing that they have the most in common is the way they delivered it. What they said, you could hear the pain in their voice. You could hear the frustration. You could hear the excitement. You could hear the anger. If you can't hear that in a song, you're never going to be top. Because people can't really connect with it. It sounds dope, that's cool, you know, but you're monotone. And so it's just not going to go where you think it's going to go. Let's see. Let me see. How to stay confident as an artist. So how to stay confident as an artist, you definitely want the right people around you. And I would say the best way to stay confident as an artist is to keep getting better. Keep getting better. Keep refining your craft. Keep studying. Keep getting, you know, whatever you can do to get better. You know, again, like I said, as an artist, you know, reading more, writing more, you know, whether it's, I mean, even if it's not writing music, you know, you're writing a journal, you're writing, you know, poetry, you're writing whatever you're writing, you know, keep reading and writing. That's what you do. You know what I mean? Like, you know, as an artist, you know, as a music artist, what you do is read and write. So if you ain't reading and writing on a regular basis, how are you going to be confident in what you're writing or reading? It has to come from the mind. Like whenever I start feeling like, you know, I don't want to say not confident, but like whenever everybody gets right. Most people, I mean, if you're human, you probably have had writer's block, you know, and it's just too many ideas and, you know, all this going on and, you know, you don't know what to do with it and it sucks because you're like, man, like, you know, and I'm kind of going through that right now. You know, I'm human. And so what do? I go back and I start reading. I pick up a book and I say, okay, man, I gotta start getting my pages in, man. I start writing. You know, obviously I gotta write music. Sometimes I just freestyle write, just write out whatever, you know, and just keep writing. Another way is I freestyle. You know what I mean? I just get it off my mind. Just put on some beats. Start freestyling. Freestyle. Whether I put it out or not, just freestyle. Get it off my mind. You know what I mean? And that's one of the best ways to stay confident as an artist because you're confident in your skill level. As far as like, you know, confidence of like what other people feel, like, I mean, that shouldn't bother you. You know, that shouldn't bother you. If you're dope and you continue to work on your craft, people are going to let you know. But if you're lazy and you just think like, oh, I can rap because I know how to rhyme words, I mean, so does Dr. Seuss. You know, like so does probably a 5-year-old can rhyme some words. So what? right? They got 5 year olds writing poetry in class. So what? They can rhyme some words. It's not about that. It's about being a student of English. It's about being a creative writer. It's about, again, being able to tell a story. It's about, understanding your syllables. It's about understanding metaphors. It's about understanding, all these things. So if you're a student of English, then you'll be great. And that should boost your confidence as an artist because you understand how to write it. And then, a way to get better at, like delivery is, take a radio class. Like radio DJs, they have to learn all that stuff. They have to learn about enunciation and, delivery and things like that. So that's a good way to learn about that. Let me see. We're going to do a couple more questions and then we're going to pause it for today and come back. Let me see. What not to do when releasing music. So, what not to do when releasing music? I would say don't just put it out and leave it there and put out now. You know what I mean? Like everybody always says that. Don't just like, oh, okay, music out now and just leave it there and hopefully it blows up. That's not gonna work. So if you just put it out and say, oh, my music's out and you don't keep posting it and everything like that and you don't keep putting it in people's face, like that's not gonna work. When you release music, like you should have a marketing plan behind it. How you're going to get it out there more. You should have people you're already going to reach out to, people that are waiting for it. How you're going to start performing, who you're going to be performing with. You should have a budget, all that stuff. So I would just say what not to do when releasing music is don't be unprepared. Don't be unprepared for the success. Because if you think it's a banger and everybody in your family and friends and, circle told you, oh, this is a slapper, you better not put it out unless you're ready. Unless you got everything else ready to go and okay, look, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna shoot a video. Like we're gonna, have that list of things out that you need to complete. We're gonna do a video. We're gonna have some flyers. We're gonna go over here, do some street performances. I got this person that's gonna put me on some shows. We're gonna, you know what I mean? So don't just release stuff just to release it. I'm not saying I don't want to say just don't put out music. That's cool. Like, you can do that too. But like, if you're trying to put out like a banger or something that you really want to do something, then yeah, have a plan behind it. I mean, and even if you aren't just putting out a banger, you're just like putting out music, have some like, have some like thought of like what you're going to do with it. You know what I mean? Like, have some kind of like following already to go like run it up or, where you're about to go do some shows or something like that, how you're going to get it out. Because if you just put out the music, and we used to do this a lot, we just put out music and we were like, okay, cool. And then we go on to the next song, on to the next song, on to the next song. You know what I mean? Like, and it's cool to put out a bunch of music, week after week after week after week, but like, that's just not how you go. I don't feel like that's how you blow up no more. You know what I mean? It's good, again, to have the catalog, but have a plan for if one of these songs blow up, when one of these songs blow up. Have a plan. What are you going to do? Where are you going to go? Or do you have money for the video? Do you have, these things in motion already, or at least set up to where that song starts popping off and everybody's like, damn, like, what's next? And you're like, oh, well, yeah, go run it up. They're not going to. They're not going to run it up. You got to run it up. All right, so let's see. Why your cover art can make or break a song. I don't know that cover art can make or break a song. I do feel like you do have to have good cover art, though. Just because people see it and like, it invites them into, it's like a book cover, right? If I see a book cover and I'm like, oh, well, maybe I'm not reading that one. I don't want to read that one. So I don't feel like it can make or break the song. However, I do feel like it is, like I said, the book cover. So you want to have something that makes sense for the song or for the album. And that way when people see it, they're like, okay, I see the cover. Now I want to open this book up and see what's on the inside. So, again, will it make or break your album? Definitely not. but will it help people to connect with it more if you have a good cover? Absolutely. Let's see. How to deal with negative comments. Like I said, I dealt with that myself. And when I first started, like, dealing with negative comments, like, it hurt, man. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Because I was already going through so much, like, you know, my own family and stuff, like, you know, and some friends, like, you know what I mean, not really understanding my music, or, you know, like I said, my flow wasn't there yet or whatever. And so I was still trying to get that fixed up. And so when I would get negative comments, it would hurt. I'm like, man, they're right, you know, blah, blah, blah. And, like, you know, I get down on myself and everything. And, you know, at the end of the day, like, I'll say this, people are going to say whatever. You know what I mean? Like, the way I deal with negative comments right now is I look at all the dope, or all the, you know, top celebrities that are out there that get all the hate comments right now, and, you know, they're still winning, man. They're still making millions of dollars. They're still going everywhere. They're still handling their business. It's like, you just got to tune it out, man. Like, you know, if people are talking crap about your thing, just laugh it off. Just laugh it off. Like, oh, okay, cool. You know what I mean? Like, that's cool, you know. And sometimes it still stings, you know. Sometimes I'm not going to say it's just like, oh, well, you know, like, it doesn't hurt. Like, sometimes it does. Sometimes, you know, people strike a chord, and it's probably A minor. No, right? But no, so, but sometimes people strike a chord, and, you know, they just hit the nerves. Like, you're like, oh, man, like, you know, I felt that. I did kind of feel that, blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, the best way to deal with negative comments, for me, over the years, that has made me better, is if it wasn't constructive, I didn't let it be destructive. If that makes sense. So if it's not constructive, don't let it be destructive. So constructive criticism is great. If, you know what I mean, like, if people give you pointers, take it. Be like, okay, take the good, and whatever, like, is BS or whatever, you know, toss to the side, you know. But if people, like, the way I've gotten better over the years was taking the constructive criticism. But you also have to realize and have discernment enough to know that there's some people that just want to knock you down. That some people are cowards. They don't want to do it themselves. They'd rather sit behind the computer talking crap to you because you're out here trying to live your dream, you know. But at the end of the day, comments are worth a lot. You know what I mean? Like, you get a bunch of comments, it's great. You know what I mean? Like, whether they're good or bad. Now, if you have a lot bad, and, you know, they're all saying the same thing, and I mean, I'm not saying they're like, oh, you suck, blah, 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 but, like, you know, if they're all constructive comments, and they're like, hey, man, like, you know, you really should have did this, or you should have tried that, or blah, 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 like, you know, then look at that, you know, like I said, that's constructive. But if you were just like, oh, you're ass, like, don't ever rap again, like, you know, you hate yourself, like, don't listen to that crap, you know. I mean, there's just trolls out there that, again, are cowards. They don't want to do it themselves, or they can't do it themselves. Or, you know, their girlfriend got stole by a rapper, and so they hate you too. So don't worry about it. How to get people to actually listen to your music. I would say, you know, just get involved, like I said, with your local shows. Another way, like the open mics. Open mics are good when you're first starting. And again, like I said before, passing out information, exchanging information with other people, doing as many free events as you can in the beginning. Now we're going to talk about, like, the beginning. So, like, doing as many free events as you can. Hey, man, you know, open mics here, open mics there, yada, yada, yada. And just film that, you know, because in the beginning, it's going to be hard to, like, you know, get past, like, a lot of these, you know, promoters and stuff like that, you know. They don't know you. They're going to want to charge you. And if you can't bring people, then whatever, right? Another way I started is, you know, I got in with some karaoke DJs, and I started doing karaoke. And that helped me with my performance. And when people's like, dang, like, you're really good at performing, I'm like, oh, I'm an artist, you know, blah, blah, blah. And then sometimes a karaoke DJ would let me perform my own music, because they're like, oh, man, like, you're dope. Like, you know, I'm like, hey, can I perform my own music? And so I did that. I know everybody always says social media, but I'm telling you, you need to go out and get a physical audience. You have to go out and get a physical audience. That is the biggest way that you're going to do it, you know, and especially when you're starting out. If you have a friend in your section that is willing to DJ for you, oh man, you got it. You got it. You got it. You got it. I think for a new person starting out that has good music, that's ready to perform, if you have a homie that is a DJ or is willing to learn how to DJ, to be a part of what you got going on, man, you are in like Flynn. Get yourself a DJ, because not only can the DJ go in there and do his thing, and you can get a DJ booked way faster than you're gonna get yourself booked, right? So you go, oh, my friend DJ's blah blah, he'll do it for $150 a night, whatever. You give him a good price, but we need to be able to do a live performance. And they're like, okay, cool, no problem. And then so the DJ get them all pumped up, do their thing, and then you go in there and do 10-minute set, yada yada yada, film the whole thing, talk to people, and that's a good way to start getting people to follow you. Get on your Instagram, get on your TikTok. Hey, follow us. Start doing other bars and restaurants and things like that, and then you start throwing your own shows, and you start booking people on your shows, getting paid. That's how we did in the beginning. So best way to get people to listen to your music, man, is to really get out there and show yourself. Doing it behind the computer, like I said, people get on the computer and they freestyle and they do all that stuff, and they music is never going to see the light of day. They're never going to be an artist that's on stage handling their business, because they're too busy on TikTok freestyling, when they should be out. If they're that good at freestyling, which they are, I see a lot of these guys on TikTok, they're great, then you should be on stages somewhere doing that, because that's how you get people to listen to you. TikTok, people are just going to scroll on by. When they're at the bar, they're at the club, they're at the wherever, and you're doing that, they can't scroll. They looking right at you, right? And if they're on their phone, they lame anyway. So, but they're looking right at you. So make sure the physical audience is your number one. Make sure you're selling those tickets, man. Like I said, ticket sales are huge. Okay, and one more question, and we're going to pick back up tomorrow. Why you don't need a label at first. So why you don't need a label at first? Honestly, I don't know that you need a label at all, depending on where you're trying to go. Labels come with a whole lot of mess, and I feel like if you really do the research, like, you'll find that you don't need a label. The reason why people used to sign the labels in the beginning, because a lot of this stuff wasn't common knowledge, for one, like how to find a lot of this stuff. And number two, they used to want it for the money, right? Oh, I need, they're going to give me, $250,000 to do my label or to do my music and blah, blah, blah. Number one, music don't cost that much to do no more. And again, you have a free promotion tool right here. However, you could also get business funding, especially if you're just starting, you got good credit, and you work a job and you're putting money in a business bank account and you're saving while you're doing your music and all that stuff, or, whatever. But like, mainly, like, if you have good credit and you got a great bank account and you open a business account, man, you can get $100,000. Say you save $10,000 and you put $10,000 into a business bank account, you leave that for 90 days while you're working on your music. They give you $100,000. You put in, that other $10,000 into another business bank account, and then turn that to $100,000. It's not going to cost you $200,000 to do some music at first. You get your music done. You spend a few $1,000s on that. You spend a few $1,000s on promotion. Get a video done. Buy some marketing tools, man. I mean, you're probably in it like 15, 20 grand maximum when you're first starting. Just to like really get some buzz and everything like that, paying for some ads and things like that. You know what I mean? Like, it's not that much, man. Like, and even to find PR and get a PR team and all that stuff. There's PR teams out there that a lot of people don't know that. They don't know to go get PR. There's PR teams that you can get for like $4,000 for 4 weeks that'll put you in front of millions of people. But you have to have a great product if you want it to work. If you know what I mean, like, if you have a crap product and you're just like, hey, yeah, I bought a PR team for $4,000 for 4 weeks, and my product is crap. I have no history, no backing, nobody knows who I am. So for somebody like me, a PR team is going to be great because people already know who I am. right? So when I have a wonderful product, a new wonderful product, and I have the finances to hire a PR team, then I say, okay, bam, they put me on all the right podcasts. People know who I am. Okay, bam, it shoots up, views shoot up, Spotify shoots up, all that stuff. And then, I run some ads on TikTok, music goes good, you know what I'm saying? Like, so, but all that, even I did the numbers for myself, all that was, I think it was a total of like $30,000 to $40,000. Music recorded, videos, PR, all that stuff. Like $30,000 to $40,000. Now, if you have a good bank account and you have great credit, or your parents willing to help you out, you can get all that done for about $40,000. If you put that kind of money into yourself, get your wardrobe, all that stuff. You put that kind of money into yourself, your career will definitely look amazing, and people are going to want to follow you, and people are going to want to work with you. Nobody's going to want to put money into you until they see you're putting money into yourself or somebody else is, right? So all right, y'all. Shoot, that's it for today. I appreciate y'all watching on TikTok, man. Look like we got a couple of viewers. If y'all want to check out my music, make sure y'all go to Mike Swagger on Spotify. Check out the music. I will be putting it back up to AKA the One album. This right here is on YouTube. Look up Mike Swagger on YouTube. We're going to be starting another TikTok channel, clipping all of this up, and, putting out at least 350 pieces of content for next year. I'm going to try to get to 1,000. I want to put 1,000 up. You know what I mean? Right? I want to put 1,000 pieces of content up, within the first 6 months. So we're working on that. Today was today and tomorrow is tomorrow. I appreciate you guys so much. YouTube,